Hi everyone, it's Chris, back in my cider shed with another cider to try. And it's another Wilding Cider. So I had one the other day, and I've got another one. You wait all day for a Wilding Cider and two come along at once. So this one caught my eye. I was walking past a place in Borough Market and I noticed this. And I thought, I fancy a bit of that, so I bought it. And I did say I was going to do a Calvados Somerset Cider Brandy Smackdown in the next video, but that's going to have to wait. I haven't got much time tonight, and I think that's going to take a while. It's going to happen. It's going to happen, just not now. Anyway, so there it is. Wilding Cider, Chisel Jersey, Dabinett, and Porter's Perfection. Three apples that come from pretty much the same locality in Somerset. I think Porter's Perfection is a bit sharp, the other two are a bit sweet. And there is something written on the back. What does it say on the back? So it's Chisel Jersey 45%, Dabinett 45%, Porter's Perfection 10%. That's quite a lot of info here. Let's read it all. A late season blend of very good quality fruit from an exceptional vintage. The blend is built around Chisel Jersey, which has very high tannin levels, aged for an average of 9 months in ex-red wine casks from a Portuguese natural winemaker. The casks come filled from Portugal on a sailing ship via Zisto Wines. The resulting cider is extremely complex with high in tannin, very full flavoured, a serious cider to drink with food, hand-picked fruit, wild yeast, no additives. And what is the vintage? 2018 is the vintage. It's 7.8%, so it's quite high ABV. So this is getting into wine territory, and it was in a wine barrel. Portuguese wine. I like Portuguese wine. I do like Portuguese wine. I think it's sometimes maybe not ignored as much as it once was. I think they were quite isolationist. Basically, port is all they made there. Yeah, that was pretty much it. The French wouldn't sell us wine except with extremely high tariffs because we were at war with them, as per usual. And so we struck a deal with Portugal and started buying port for them. But the things like Touriga Nacional I've had and liked a lot. Really quite fruity, but I almost get a tea element off it. Touriga Nacional, that's probably the most famous Portuguese wine grape. That's for still wines, not port. Yeah, because of what Salazar was it? Sort of dictatorships and stuff like that. Just all the wineries were taken to cooperatives, so they didn't make very good wine. But post dictatorship, once they joined the EU, I think a lot of money was ploughed into it. Now you get some really good wines from Portugal. Blah blah blah. I like Portuguese wine. What can I say? So let's have a look at this. I've just noticed this has got a cork in. Have I got a corkscrew? I've got a corkscrew on my weapon of choice, yes, and some nice, look at that pretty wax on the top. So it says, oh, bone dry, cask aged bittersweet cider is what it says. So let's see if I can get this top off. Come on, you. Take the wax off. Yep, there we go. Okay, cheese knife. But it also has a corkscrew, very important. So let's see if I can get this off without making a mess. If it takes a while, I might pause it and come back, but let's try. Here we go. How about that? Ta-da! Oh, no problem. One cork. Right then, let's pour this out. Let's pour this out. So, the first bottle I had, I didn't love by the terrible cold. The second bottle I had the Stoke Red in the last video, and I liked that a lot more. Thought it was really good. And this is our third one. So let's see how we go with this. So, see, I think, so I'm not always into barrel aging, cask conditioning, because sometimes you can mask the flavour of the cider that you put in the barrel, depending on how much wine or whiskey or whatever the hell was in there before you put your cider in. You know, you can get lots of residual flavour, which can then actually smother the flavour of the cider. So if you've got really good cider from really good apples, you know, and a really good vintage, do you want to mask that with red wine? And I would suggest you can just see a hint of the red wine coming through. Where's my thingamajig? There it is. I don't even see that. It's got a bit of a redness to it, I suggest. So I think there's going to be a reasonable amount of wine, you know, influence in this. A reasonable amount. We're going to find out in a second. But again, this is like the first one we had. The reasons to be cheerful. This is also still 7.8. So this is kind of getting into wine territory. It's still wine territory, isn't it? So let's have a sniff. It does smell a bit vinous. Okay, so there's definite kind of ripe aged apple in the background there, almost like a baked apple character, which I always like very much. So not malic, more like ripe red fruit, autumnal kind of character. But there is also a hint of red wine about this, I would suggest. Yeah, if I didn't know the red wine in it, I might not get it, but it's definitely there. I'm totally getting it. So let's see how this tastes. Okay, it is indeed boldly tannic. Boldly tannic. I did say that here. And the Chisel Jersey got high tannin. Red wine usually has tannin. Certainly, I think those dark skinned grapes from Portugal, quite a lot of tannin in those skins, so they get reasonably high tannic wines when you make wine with them. Yeah, high in tannin, very full flavoured. It is very full flavoured, and there is a distinct element of red wine in this. It's pretty obvious on the palate, I would say. Yeah, squeaky teeth, really squeaky. Dry on the palate, really dry. Some leatheriness on the back end as well. So soft tannins on the front, hard tannins on the back. One gives astringency, one gives that sort of leathery, bitter character, which is fine. Loads of ripe fruit in the middle. I mean, it's bone dry, absolutely bone dry. We get lots of rich apple character, aged apple, like I said, autumnal apple character. If you know what I mean, I think you probably do what I mean. It's very hard to sort of categorise. Forest floor sort of thing, I think. Autumnalness. Whatever. I don't know if I know what I mean. Anyway. But yeah, there's definitely red wine in it. So, what do I think about that? What do I think about that? How much wine influence is there? Is there too much? I think there might be a hair too much for my palate. Just a hair. On the nose now I'm getting a bit more rich fruit on the nose now, actually. It smells, actually, it always smells sweet on the nose. So that buttered, that baked sort of apple character, apple pie character, whatever, is there. But yeah, that kind of darkness that you get from red wines is also there. Okay. I don't know. I'm not always the best person for this. I find it hard to be objective. If I buy cider, I kind of want to taste cider. And this has got quite a red wine character to it. If you like red wines, I think you should definitely try this. But there is a leatheriness at the back end, tannic element that you would get with like quite a big red wine. And also using a tannic apple. Don't know. I think this is a food cider. I was going to say food wine there. A food cider. I think you need fats to go with the tannins. So cheese, for example. I think this would actually go quite well with some good intense hard cheeses. I think we've got hard. Hard cheese has more fat than soft cheese. So you might look at a brie, and because it's oozing, it looks fattier. But in fact, there's more liquid in it, which is why it's soft. So it's more diluted. The fats are more dilute. But in a hard cheese, a pressed cheese, the fats are much more concentrated, which is why it's hard. There's less moisture in it. It's less diluted. So when I'm talking about high fat cheeses, I mean, you could go with something like, I think something hard, like really good cheddar, Comté, Gruyere, something like that would work, I think. A bit of sweetness as well, because of the leatheriness of that. I think the sweetness of it would work quite well. Sorry, I don't know why I'm going into cheese pairings. It wasn't my intention at all, but that's where my brain tends to go when I try things like this. Maybe something fatty like pork, so the fats and the tannin, but also apple and pork is a great thing to have. So yeah, actually I think I'd probably like to have this with some pork or something like that. Yeah, or like a hard Alpine cheese, possibly. Yeah, I don't think cheddar. I'm thinking Alpine. So like I say, Comté, Gruyere, etc. Blah blah blah. Okay, I mean it's making me think. It's definitely making me think. But I always try not to get too excited by things that are put in barrels, however exciting the product that was in that barrel previously, because less is not always more. More is not always more. Less can be more. And I think sometimes the purity, especially with excellent apples like this, do I want to just taste the apples? I think I probably do, but I'm not going to, I'm not going to criticise them for doing this. I mean, I think it's really interesting. I mean, I bought it because I thought it sounded fascinating. Cool. All right then, there you go. 2 Wilding Ciders in a week. The first one was more to my taste this week, but I still think if you're interested in wines and ciders and want to try something a bit more which is complex, get yourself some of this. The Chisel Jersey Dabinett Port's Perfection from Wilding Cider. All right, guys. Next time, I am going to do the Calvados / Somerset Cider brandy tasting. I guarantee it. But you'll have to wait for that because I've got to drink this first. Okay, well, thank you for joining me as always. Until the next time, cheers.